Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Welcome back to another episode of the Peak Performers Podcast. I'm your host, Thor Conklin, and today we have the founder of MetPro, Angelo Poli. Welcome, man.
Thanks for having me on the show, Thor. This is great.
I'm telling you, I'm really excited about this because, you know, what's great about being a host of a podcast, or we ought to change, you know, it's podcast, depending on how you're watching this thing on video or audio, I get to pick people that I want to talk to and like learn things from. So I'm ready to dive into this stuff. What does Angelo do, you might be asking? He helps people achieve extraordinary body transformations through customized metabolic profiling. You know, one of the things that he absolutely hates is this generalized approach to nutrition and health. Look, you got to figure out who your subject is and then tailor the process around that person. This is no cookie cutter approach today. So Angelo, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me. We're going to have some fun.
I know this is going to be great. So, you know, personally, and let me back up 1 second. You know, this is a business podcast, and you're like probably saying, what the hell are we doing with a nutrition guy on the show? Well, I'll tell you exactly. If you're familiar with my work, if you are going to have a successful business, there's 4 pillars you need. You need the business piece, very deep. You need the mind, you need relationships, and you need the body. If your body is not in a position to show up in the boardroom to execute at the highest levels, quite frankly, you're not going to achieve those levels. So this is one of our 4 pillars. We talk about it all the time with our clients. Really appreciate having you on the show. A little bit about my transformation is 6 years ago, I woke up, I was going through a divorce I didn't think I was going to be going through. Except I didn't have a choice in the process. I looked in the mirror, literally looked in the mirror. I was staying at a friend's place, and he had one of these 3D mirrors, not 3D, three-dimensional, had side mirrors. And I'm looking, I look at my profile, and I'm like, whoa. You know, the profile's not bad as you're looking straight on, but on the side, it was bad. 50 pounds overweight, you know, just not doing what I needed to do. I needed a wake-up call, and I went on a journey from that point on. And
now, did I hear that you actually did a comp? You did a competition?
I did.
Nice.
Every year I choose a difficult physical challenge. Actually, I did a bodybuilding show down in Miami, the board short division. So, you know, it was not I didn't look like the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, physique. That's the physique category.
The physique category. Yeah, I never got
fitness.
To, yeah. I never got to the point where, or what do they call it, the women's bikini equivalent. It was great being backstage. That was the best part of the show. It was like, wow, look at all these bodies back here.
Pretty incredible. Yeah,
it really was. So transformation. You know, it's interesting as I was reading some of your stuff, and you mentioned how you transform the body, but I think when you really come down to it, it's not just a body transformation, it's a life transformation, because when you change the body, the mind changes. The results that you get in your business, that changes. It affects every piece of your life. So I love the way you're doing this. You're doing it on a metabolic basis, but I don't know what that means yet. I understand what metabolic is all about, but tell us how you work with clients, what the differences are, and how you're different.
All right, we'll dive in. So I have the privilege, the great honor of getting to kind of live my dream, and that is my company specializes in coaching high-level makeovers. So that can be anyone, but yes, we work with a lot of the executive community, VPs, entertainers, a lot in Hollywood. We work with pro athletes, NFL guys, you name it. But we also work with mom and pop and grandparents just wanting more energy, to spend time with the grandkids. But the commonality is the people who come to us are generally looking for a highly specialized and deliberate approach to making over their physiques. So we don't leave any stone unturned. Our experts walk hand in hand on that journey, starting from a get to know you tour to, talking about every trip and vacation you're going to take and mapping out, what restaurants are along the way, what access to exercise you're going to have. So that way there's no guesswork involved. So it's really a high touch point concierge process. What we get from that is fantastic data. So in other words, when somebody joins our program and agrees to hire our coaches to help them with a transformation, they are going to be highly adherent to the process. They are very engaged. It's not as casual as the run-of-the-mill processes out there. So when we get a 38-year-old male mesomorph who needs to lose 25 pounds and wants to have more energy, like you said, for the boardroom or whatever the circumstance is, we can give you very, very specific metrics on how we utilize our de-identified data to say thousands of these scenarios where a person between this age range, this body type, this goal has responded based on all these different levers. So basically you hear, well, what's the best approach to weight loss? Is it calorie control? Is it carbohydrate manipulation? Is it meal timing frequency, ketogenic cyclical fasting? We can go on and on and on. And we can actually put metrics to that and tell you, based on your circumstance, which approach is going to be the most relevant for you today. That's where the data comes in, the data engine and the analytics that we run. And then we take care of the lifestyle piece by walking day by day, coach and client together in satisfying this process to ensure that we get to the finish line.
Yeah, now it's interesting because a couple of words kind of stood out there is highly engaged clients and a daily process of walking through. What does that actually look like? Are these coaches on the call or text with these clients every single day? What's the actual process look like?
All of the above. All of the above. So that's going to be the day-to-day coaches. There are 5 things that we're looking for. And if it's all right with you, I'll just briefly touch on each because they're relevant. And by the way, this is something that any listener can at least take and apply to a degree in their life, whatever their circumstance. So the 5 things that we've found are most relevant are identifying goals and body type, genetics. All of that kind of is wrapped into one conversation. Lifestyle. We have to identify whether they're strategic or metabolic, and I'll come back to explaining what that means. We're looking at their nutritional history, and the reason is because we need a baseline to be relevant. In other words, to get it right. You can go to lots of gurus. There's 1,000,001 diet approaches out there, 1,000,001 exercise programs, and I'll set the record straight right here. All of them work. That's why you have so many out there, because this one works, except that one works. Oh, and this one works, and that one works. They all work. It's not that you have to find the one that's right and all the rest are wrong. They all work, but not all of them are optimized for you. And that's what we're looking for. So that's why we need that baseline in nutrition. And then we touch a little bit on psychology. So not everybody hears and speaks the same way and is inspired by the same thing. Some people really like a lot of support. Other people, they're going to reach their potential by being invited to a challenge. And we want to know which you are. There's no right or wrong. It's a matter of putting all the pieces together so we can be as effective as possible. So our first phone call with you, we're going to work on those goals. Now, goal setting, proper goal setting is really there to establish what we're not going to work on first. That's critical because if you know much about biology or transformations, you'll know that the adaptive response, in other words, your body changing, is directly tied to specificity. So one of the most common mistakes we see with people coming to us is, hey, Angelo, I'm an executive. I'm in charge of a large company. I'm a type A personality. When I put my mind to something, I get it. Now, I know who you are and what you do. Can you achieve? I want to be running a sub 6-minute mile. I want to have under 10% body fat. I want to bench 300 pounds. Can you get me there? My answer is yes, that's what I do. I can get you there. Now, here's what you have to decide. Of those 3 goals, which one do you want to do first? Because if I build you a program that's going to try and check off all of those boxes at once, unless you are genetically predisposed to achieving all 3 of those naturally, by the way, you're not calling me if that happens. You're already there. Unless you're genetically predisposed to that, we have to focus on one. Otherwise, we're not going to achieve any of that.
Yeah. Focus.
That's the rule of specificity. So when we go down this rule, it's like, I understand we want to have more energy. We want to perform better. We want to drop a few pounds. We have this athletic goal or maybe this event coming up. What's number one priority? You have to have a strong priority hierarchy so that now we can mathematically allocate your time properly. So you're doing the right things, you're eating the right foods for that goal. Doesn't mean we ignore the others. It just means we're going to check this one off first, put that into maintenance and move on to the next and the next. Second thing is lifestyle. Give me an example. Give me a snapshot, Thor. What's your daily lifestyle like as far as, for example, an eating schedule? Give me just a 20-second tour.
So in the morning, it can consist of either eggs, oatmeal, or a pre-workout drink, followed by a pre-workout drink after exercise. Okay. Lunch. I generally will prep my meals ahead of time. I'm actually did really well this week. Actually, I've got about 10 days worth of meals in the refrigerator, ready to go. I'll eat around noon.
Attaboy.
I know. Well done. I cooked on Sunday. And then I try to finish my meals by 6 o'clock. And of course, the only thing that, screws up the whole thing is going out on a date Tuesday night that ends up with cocktails and umbrellas. So I'm really good until about 6 o'clock.
Okay. No, that gives me a great overview. Now, how often do you travel? Are you traveling 50% of the time? Are you traveling 10% of the time? What kind of, your work, social life? How often are you on the road? Ballpark.
25%. I literally just got off the cruise. I've been gone for 14 days.
Oh, nice.
10 days. Yeah.
Nice. So this conversation, for your listeners, this is the exact conversation that I have with a client. Now, what makes it relevant is if you know the why behind what I'm looking for. So I'm not so much looking for what are my food preferences, those are things we can handle. I'm not worried about that. I can find foods that you'll like, that you'll eat. What I'm listening for is, okay, how many of your meals do you eat at home? How many meals are taken on the go, eaten out? What's our ability to prep? Prepping is great. You can't prep as much when you're on the road. I'm looking for how many of your meals you're taking solo versus how many of your meals are taken socially. And that's very relevant for me. And the reason is because I'm a big fan of snacks. I love snacks, but not for the reasons you'd think. I love snacks because nobody ever eats their snacks on a date. It's not taken socially. So in other words, hey, this meal is off limits. I'm going to eat reasonable, but I know that I'm not going to be on point with this meal. So I'm going to budget the particulars, the carbs or the specifics that I need you to get into a mid-morning or mid-afternoon snack where I can tell you bite for bite, you're going to pack this, this, and this, and you're going to eat it at 2:45 in the afternoon because social engagements aren't going to interfere with it, and I can count on it. So all of these little pieces are helping me, and this is what my team of coaches do, identify what path we're going to take. I may say, you know what, we can just skyrocket your metabolism. We're going to have you on a schedule of eating every X amount of hours, and it's going to work great. But if the reality is, look, you can only eat 3 meals and 1 snack in a day, all that science, it doesn't help us out a bit. We need to know what you can do and work backwards from that.
Yeah, it was funny when I was prepping for the bodybuilding show. My trainer had me eating fish and vegetables 6 times a day. I will tell you, eating fish 6 times a day with just vegetables, the weight comes flying off.
Yep.
But have fish for breakfast on the third day and you want to throw the fish at your trainer. I was
love
done.
that you're bringing this up.
I was done with fish. I mean, I never wanted to see another fish in my life. Of course,
that's amazing.
That's what's actually prepped in my refrigerator now. But it was like, yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
But who wants to eat cod at 8 o'clock in the morning?
That's it. Cod. You got it. So for the listeners, the reason his trainer had him do that was not just for the macronutrient value, but because what his trainer was actually doing was he was manipulating his water levels. So that way he would go into the competition, what's called full and dry. That specifically was to bring him in dry, because when you reduce sodium intake and carbohydrate intake, which is what happened when just doing the fish and the vegetables, your body expels water. It's not going to be permanent once you return to normal, but it's what peaked you. That's why he probably just had you doing that a few days leading up. Right. Absolutely. No, it all makes sense. So when you know the strategy behind why you're going to eat this way, and by the way, for the listeners, you're not going to have to eat cod and vegetables. Hey, if you want to do a comp, awesome. I'll take you there. We'll do it. But what we're looking for is sustainability and what's actually going to be reasonable. So all of that just goes into when we know your lifestyle, we can help build the strategy backwards. But the real highlight, and this is where I write about this, I blog about this, I go on podcasts and talk about this, I'm shouting it from the rooftops. Why we're interested in your nutritional history. In other words, tell me how you currently eat. I want to look at a food log. I want to see what your nutritional culture is because we believe at MetPro that baseline testing is that missing link that separates many, many people from getting the results that they want. Whether it's someone who's already into health and fitness but has hit a hard plateau, or whether it's someone just trying to figure out, cut through all the clutter and the chatter, where should I start? Because I'm hearing someone tell me, this is the way to start, and you cut carbs, and someone else is saying, no, never do that. Just count your calories, and someone else is saying, don't worry about calories, just focus on these foods. Who do I believe? Again, since they all have science behind them, it's a matter of relevance to you. How you identify what's going to work the best for you comes down to baseline testing. So I know I've kind of really taken the scenic route getting here, Thor, but you asked, what does that experience look like?
Yeah.
This is it. We start with baseline testing. So if this doesn't scare you off, you might be a good candidate. But what we would do is we would assign you a very specific meal plan. Now, I'm not expecting someone to eat a contest prep meal plan bite for bite every day of their life moving forward, but I am going to ask you to do it for about 72 hours. It's not for weight loss. It's not for weight gain. It's not for any reason other than so I can run analytics and establish exactly where your metabolic rate is at.
How do you do this when you're in California and I'm in Atlanta, Georgia?
So I'm going to put you on, let's just say, and I'm just pulling out of a hat.
Yeah.
I have had, how old are you, Thor? I love it.
56.
No.
Yeah, 56.
Wow. Yeah. I thought you were about my age. Well done. Yeah, outstanding. I'm 38, almost 39. Man, atta boy. Good job. So what I'm going to do is, I mean, I can only see you from the shoulders up, but there we go. Atta boy.
Whoa, gun show.
Yeah, baby. I love it. So you're kind of mesomorphic body type. What's your height?
6'4".
Okay. So you're a tad taller than me. Yeah. Just a tad. I'm 5'8" and a half.
I was always really skinny as a kid till about 25, and then it just all stomach.
It started changing. Yep. So you're probably naturally that ectomorphic body type that as you've aged, you've become more mesomorphic. If you don't know what that means, that's not relevant right now. Just know that what I would do is I would go into my analytics and I would find a baseline testing meal plan that I've used for literally thousands of gentlemen in their 50s that are mesomorphic body type as a starting baseline. And I would have you eat bite for bite the exact thing I've had them eat. So that means I know call it just 3 days. I'm just pulling a number out of a hat. It's a short period of time.
Yeah.
Let's say we establish 3 days. For 3 days, you're going to have this breakfast. I don't like oatmeal. No problem. We'll do a different carb. But the macros are going to add up the same. The calories are going to add up exactly to this baseline. So I know what you're eating for breakfast. I know what you're eating for lunch, dinner, snacks. I know the glycemic load of your meals. I know the calorie count of your meals. I know the macronutrient breakdown of each individual meal and your total daily intake. Don't change your exercise. If you're already exercising, continue what you're used to. If you're not accustomed to exercise, don't start exercising today. You'll mess up my baseline testing.
Yeah.
I need the fewest variables possible. Now you're going to follow that meal plan for 3 days or however long. At the end of that, there are only 3 possible outcomes. Either you're going to gain weight, you're going to lose weight, or you're going to stay the same weight. There's no other options. One of those 3 things are going to happen. Now what I can do, let's say you stayed the same weight. Now what I can do is I can compare your analytics against thousands of others, and I can come back to you and I can say, Thor, your metabolic rate is just a little slower than average. Based on how you've responded to this baseline, here now is your strategy, and here's where we're going to start.
Got it. So you're trying to determine what the metabolic rate is.
Exactly.
I got it.
And that's critical, because the one thing I can promise you is I've been in this industry 20 years now. I've been doing transformations. I have dieted about 20,000 people. So I've done this a couple times. Ask me what you need to eat to lose weight, Thor. Go ahead, ask me.
What do I need to do to lose weight? What do I need to eat in order to lose weight?
I don't know. And if I don't know, there's no guru out there does. I promise.
Got it.
The reason I don't know with that much experience is because the one thing that all that experience has taught me is that every single person, every single metabolism responds uniquely. I have a gal right now. She weighs 114 pounds. She's eating well over 3,000 calories a day. If she so much as misses a snack, she'll lose a pound. I got a guy who's 321 pounds. He's eating barely 2,000 calories a day. And if he misses a single day of his elliptical, he'll flatline for the week and won't lose any weight. There is nothing fair about it. Your metabolism is just it's a survival response that's constantly shifting. Everyone's genetics are different, and everyone's body acclimates, for better or for worse, to their environment, your nutritional environment, in time. Your body does that to keep you alive. What it means is there is no, here, if you eat this, you're going to have results. If you eat that, you're not going to have results. That doesn't exist. It's an identification and evaluation process that's unique to each person. That's why we baseline test.
So the great question is, how do we shift our metabolic rate to something higher?
Excellent. I love it. So you can imagine, I'm not going to get into the details of exercise. The reason I don't want to talk about exercise today is we have limited time. Exercise is just as relevant. It's just as important, but it's not just as misunderstood. Most people get it. You need to exercise. Now, we specialize in this. We're going to help you optimize so you're doing the type of exercise that's going to be the most relevant for your body type and goal.
Yeah.
The question you just asked, how do we speed your metabolism? Let me tell you how we're going to do that through nutrition and a little bit of exercise.
Okay.
So here's a typical. Let's just pretend, okay, Thor, you're 6'4". You look like you're in great shape. Let's say you wanted to lose 50 pounds. Let's say you had a few pounds.
I'm 215, and my ideal weight, I think, is somewhere around 190.
Okay. So we want.
And that's 190 is close to 6-pack.
Okay. So let's 25 pounds.
Yeah.
So let me take you through this journey. I don't know the exact nuances of what you're eating. You gave me a good overview, and that's oatmeal, etc. But what I'm going to say is, you're not eating McDonald's every day. I know that. You're not eating a bunch of junk food. You're not getting excessive. You admitted you're getting a few cocktails once in a while, but you're not getting a ton of superfluous. So here's what that means.
More than it should be. And
More
today
than should be.
And today I wanted to make sure I had a well-balanced nutritional plan. So I did have 5 gummy bears that I stole off Herb's desk.
There you go. I think those gave you the extra fire and spunk for today. I love it. So I'm just going to pick you out and say this would be a very common progression that I would see. You want to get to 190. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to put you on a meal plan. You're going to start losing weight slowly, not fast. I can tell you it's going to be slow, not fast, because you've already lost weight. Your metabolism is already acclimated to where you're at right here. There's no huge things you're not eating 4,500 calories a day of nachos and beer. Yeah. So there's not a huge amount of contrast to put in there. So I'm going to put you on a meal plan. You're going to start losing weight. You're going to lose about 3 or 4 pounds. And then your body's going to go, I get it.
Yeah.
And continuing to eat that meal plan, no matter how good it is not going to produce more results. So I'm going to change your meal plan. And then you're going to lose another 2 or 3 pounds. And I would change your meal plan again. This time you're going to lose another 2 pounds. And I would change your meal plan maybe one more time, and I'm going to just squeeze maybe 1 more pound out of you. And I'm going to get you about 10 pounds down. So now you're sitting at 205. The problem is you want to be 190, 195, whatever, in there. Except I can't take anything away. If I have you eat even less, you're not going to make your workout at the gym. You're going to be too exhausted. Your energy is going to go down. It's no longer pushing you towards being a peak performer. Now we're actually causing you to be a lower performer if we go past a certain threshold. So now I'm going to say, all right, Thor, what we're going to do is we're going to reboot your metabolism. So tomorrow, I want you to add another half cup of oatmeal. I want you to add another, 2 ounces of chicken breast or tofu or whatever, nutritional preference you have. We're going to do some extra fruit, or we're going to add just a nominal amount. And come back to me tomorrow and tell me where we're at. So you do it. Next day you come back. I'm at the same weight, Angelo. Great. Tomorrow we're going to add again. So we increase a little bit more. And I'm going to do that every day or every other day for about a week. And finally you're going to come back and you're going to go, what the heck? I hired you to help me lose weight. I gained a pound. I'm going to say, yes, you did. That's exactly what I want. Now, go burn off that pound with exercise. Here's the catch. You can't eat a bite less food to take that pound off. We're rebooting your metabolism. You have to eat every bite. So now you're eating maybe 30%, 40% more carbs, maybe 15% more calories than you're used to getting. And you've gone up 1 pound. Now you can't go and burn 25 pounds off of the treadmill unless you have a lot of free time on your hands. But you can burn 1 pound off. So you're going to come back to me a day or 2 later. I did it, Angelo. Whew. I did an extra cardio session afterwards. Like you told me, I got that pound off. And you say, great job, Thor. Now, tomorrow, you're going to eat another half cup of oatmeal. You're going to eat another half apple. You're going to eat another chicken breast. You're going to eat another avocado, whatever it is. We're going to repeat that process where I'm going to make you gain and lose the same 1 to 2 pounds 3 or 4 times until you're used to eating as high as you genetically can handle. Calorie intake, carbohydrate intake, meal frequency, all of the buttons that matter to me, because for me, they're all levers to create. And here's my big secret and the big magic, 20 years experience, contrast. Contrast is what changes your body, not the fact that you ate cod and vegetables for a week straight. The fact that you were previously used to eating a lot more than that and then changed to cod and vegetables. That delta or gap, that contrast is what enables your body to change. So when I get your metabolism revved up and used to all these calories and carbohydrates, now when I say, now tomorrow we're going to cut your carbs back, we're going to scale back on the calories, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, the body fat's going to be incinerate off of you. So now you're 205. Now I'm going to get you down to like 192 or 193. And guess what? We got to do it again. Why? Because if you want to be 190 pounds, I'm not dieting you down to 190 pounds. That actually doesn't fix our problem. If I diet you down to 190 pounds and you have to go and follow a diet the rest of your life. No, I'm going to diet you down to about 187. And then, hey, Thor, go gain a pound by eating more. I'm going to have you gain weight until you're at the top of that metabolic acclimation process where you're actually eating the most. That's how you actually maintain the weight you want to be. And it's not easy, but it can be done.
And how does a night going out with the boys, having some cocktails, how does that variable throw off this system? The system sounds very doable if I was in a lab. When life is presented, how does that throw things off, or how do you compensate for that?
That's an excellent question. So nobody follows a meal plan 100%. If they say they are, they're lying. You can do it for a few days, even a few weeks at a time. That's not real. And by the way, if you have to follow that rigid, what are you working for? The idea is that we enhance your life, not make it miserable. Yeah. So I want you to, there are few things in life that human beings derive more pleasure from than good food and drink. I want you to enjoy yourself. Now, we have to consider your goals. So if we're at a point where we're doing a performance cycle, we're revving your metabolism, I'm pushing more and more calories and carbs through you, 1 or 2 nights of a cheat meal probably isn't going to affect you tremendously. It's not going to help you, but it's not going to derail us. Now, if we're cycling to that period where now we are in a cutting cycle for 2 weeks, I want you all in. Maybe it'll be like 1 cheat meal a week or something that's a little lower during that period, because we know there's a start date and a finish date for this period, and we can get back to some breathing room. And that's where actually the next thing on my list here was strategic versus metabolic. We need to identify where you're coming from. So strategic means basically when you eat healthy and exercise, you get the result you want. You feel better, you look better, you are better, right? Mm-hmm. Some people, I say everybody falls in this category at some point or another. Some people know that when they eat clean, when they exercise, they start seeing progress. The challenge isn't not knowing that. The challenging is in implementation, because we're busy, we're on the run, we have responsibility. We like to feel good, and we comfort ourselves with food. The whole 9 yards, the whole circle of that. So for a strategic client, this is someone who we are helping dominantly implement, and it all boils down to time management. Angelo, I fell off my meal plan. I fell out of routine because our time management wasn't there. People say, I know what I have to eat. I know what I have to do. I say, I know you know that. My job is to help you execute that more quickly. Get the food you need quickly and simply. Do the exercise you need to do most efficiently so we're not wasting time. It all boils down to time management. Now, a metabolic client is different. This is someone who I'm already eating really clean, I'm already exercising, yet I've hit a plateau and I can't bust through it. That client we need to treat differently. We need to take a different route with them. We actually have to repair their metabolism. For each new client, we get to know them to identify which category they fall into. And at different times, everyone falls into both categories at different points. So that's where that whole process of identifying and developing the lifestyle really comes in.
And am I to understand that the 2 things that affect the metabolic rate is food and exercise? Is there a third variable? Is it water intake? Is it sleep? I know genetics plays a role. I remember years ago when ephedra was legal. That stuff was awesome.
Well, yes, drugs do work, but there's a problem.
No, it's not a drug. It was a herb. It's an herb and a little plant, I mean, it was like instant, energy. And the way, it's kind of funny. I introduced it to my boss, this is going back in the 90s. And he wanted to prove it didn't work. So he went home every night and I ate a box of Oreos.
Oh my gosh.
He drank his ephedra drink, and then he drank. And he kept losing weight. Oh my
gosh, yeah. So that's a very potent supplement that they have since taken off the market.
Damn it. And that worked well.
Yeah, right. So the issue with that approach is side effects, right, and risks. So, but going back to your question, is it just food and exercise? Believe it or not, food and exercise are secondary. Now, don't take that and Angelo said that doesn't matter. Food and exercise isn't it. But, let me tell you, when you think back to the person with the fastest metabolism, you think back to the kid in high school who would take the weight gainer shakes and eat constantly because he wanted to gain weight, and yet he couldn't, no matter what he ate, right?
That was me.
As a genetic element. No, the biggest relevance is going to ultimately be your environment. So let me take you through an illustration, but rather this is more of a mental experiment to prove it.
Okay.
If you take 100 people, we're going to drop them off on a deserted island. They're on rations, 1,500 calories a day. Now, this sample of people, this 100 people, you have young people, you have old people, you have skinny people, you have fat people, you have everything in between. A year later, when we pick them up, every one of them, their new metabolic rate is how many calories, Thor?
I don't know. It sounds like a trick question.
It's 1,500. Because that's what we're rationing for them.
Oh. Okay.
So that means if their metabolic rate doesn't acclimate to 1,500 calories, well, the natural progression is they don't come off the island. They die there. Their metabolism has to adapt to that. Now, their metabolism going over that, that's for sure. Nobody's coming off that island weighing more than when they got there.
Yeah.
But your metabolic rate will acclimate to it. So you can have big people, little people, men, women, skinny, fat, doesn't matter. If I feed you 1,500 calories a day, every day, the survival mechanic in your body, the part that adapts to your food intake, just like when we're in the sun, we get tan. When we do a lot of marathon running, our heart gets bigger. When we lift heavy weights, our muscles get stronger. Your metabolism is all the chemistry in your body that adapts to whatever fuel intake you have. And it's always adapting for better or for worse.
And I guess there's a ceiling of how fast it will actually go because, if you're eating 5,000 calories every day, if your body was able to adapt to that, everyone would all look the same.
So the ceiling on both ends is death. So we don't want to fully experience the ceiling on either end.
You know what I'm saying. But your argument is, as we're taking in calories, our body will start to adjust and say, wait a second, we don't need this many calories. Let's burn off the excess. You take in too few, your body goes, wait a second, we can't die. We've got to store some fat.
Yes, but I want to prove it to you. I don't want to just say it. I want to prove it to you. So I'm going to take you through another mental experiment. So I do this all the time. I'm on a seminar and I'm explaining the metabolism. I'll pick out a female in the front row that is ectomorph, petite, maybe in her 30s or 40s. And I'll say, okay, Julie in the front row, you weigh 120 pounds. What would happen if you changed nothing about your diet or exercise except one thing? Every night before bed, you eat a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. It's 1,000 calories every night of ice cream. What would happen? And she'll laugh, and everybody in the audience will laugh and say, well, I'd be happy, and then they'll joke about it. But I say, okay, but you know your body. You've lived in your body for 35 years. Tell me what would happen. And she'll think about it, and invariably, the response that I'll get from whoever I'm talking to will say, I'd gain weight. You're correct. How much weight would you gain in a month? And they'll think about it, reflect on past experience, and they'll say, I'd probably gain 5 to 10 pounds. I say, also correct. By the way, I am an expert on this. This is what I do every day, and that's about right. Now, how much weight would you gain in a year if you kept eating that way? And this is the interesting thing. Everyone gives me the right answer again. She'll say, I'd gain 15, 20 pounds, maybe 25.
Yep.
She's also correct. Anyone in the room disagree? Nobody disagrees. I say, now, there's a problem because our current science, the extent of our medical knowledge tells us that there's 3,500 calories in a pound of body fat, right? 1,000 calories a night of Haagen-Dazs is 7,000 calories a week. That should be 2 pounds a week. There are 52 weeks in a year.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
How many people in this room think that Julie here is going to gain 104 pounds, effectively double her body weight in 1 year? And there's not a single taker. Because we know intuitively and just from our life's experience that we'll gain weight. We're not going to be happy with the weight we gain, but we won't gain 104 pounds. Why? Because our metabolism, unless there's a medical thing that's wrong with us, our metabolism will acclimate to it. So we need to harness that. So if we know when you eat more, your metabolic rate rises, and you eat less, your metabolic rate decreases. This is why it's so mysterious how people gain or lose weight. That's the missing element. The fluidity, the variability of the metabolism. But if you can track that, how do you track that? Metabolic profiling. If we track your intake and track the changes in your body weight, we can actually draw a line and tell you exactly at what point you reach diminishing returns. Okay, we're going to lose weight. We're going to lose weight. Stop. Why? Because you're not going to lose any more weight. Yep. Let's not waste time. Now we're going to speed your metabolism. Speed your metabolism. Stop. Why? Because you're going to gain weight if we go any farther. The data is going to tell me that. And so with a little seasoning of technology and innovation over the years, we've been able to take that process from, it used to take me, this is going back 2 decades, 6 weeks. I say, here, Johnny, go home, eat this diet, come back to me in 6 weeks, and then I'll tell you what to do next. Little innovation. The first book I wrote had all these, check here, add these up. I could do it in about 2 weeks. Now, about 72 hours.
Wow.
Now, all the, for you biologists and fitness enthusiasts out there saying, no, that's garbage. You don't know in 72. You are correct. I need more than 72 hours to have the complete story. But I can derive, if we minimize variables, I can derive enough data sets to make some initial recommendations as quickly as 72 hours to redirect someone so they're not wasting their time and they can right out of the gate start getting the results that they want.
Yeah, this is very in line with everything that we do here, and that is, I call it TMA, track, measure, adjust.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Constantly making adjustments. Angelo, we could keep going for hours and hours, but this is already one of the longest episodes in a long
I'm sorry.
time.
See, I should have warned you.
Look, man, that was not your fault. As long as you were giving value, I'm letting you speak. This is amazing. So if you're listening to this show and you don't want a cookie cutter approach to things, reach out to Angelo. All the information is in the show notes. Man, thanks for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.